Welcome to Help Your Horse to Stand and Relax with Clicker Training. In this 45-minute masterclass, we'll go over what works and what doesn't work and what you need in order to change to get the result you want. First, I have 3 questions for you. Would you like to feel calm and relaxed next to a horse that feels the same? Are you willing to help your horse understand the desired behavior so it's fun and easy for him? Do you want a connection with your horse based on love, mutual trust and understanding? Let us know in the chat if you answered yes to one of or more of these questions, because if you have, you are in the right place. This is my promise today, that I will share 3 important aspects with you of this behavior that will help you train your horse faster and easier, so he will be less frustrated and confused and more calm in training. Win-win is always more fun, and it's also way better for the friendship with your horse. So let's start about today. I will talk about what is the behavior stand and relax? What are the elements of this behavior? So you will have a very clear picture in your mind at the end of this class, which makes it very, very easy to train. The second aspect that I want to talk to you about is why you can't force your horse to stand still and relax, and why punishing and ignoring the bad behaviors like pawing and mugging and nudging and fidgeting don't work, and what you should do instead. And then the third part is how you can train this behavior so he can relax, and how my approach will contribute to your horse-human relationship as well. And I'll make it very practical. I have videos and a short shaping plan, and I will share examples so you can go to your horse and start implementing it right away. That's my goal. This is a behavior that everyone can train, and that will keep you safe and also will decrease frustration and even can help prevent it. It's really, really amazing. Now, if you have questions today, I'm probably like you, I love learning and I have a lot of questions if I hear all new stuff. And so I really have a lot of questions. So if you have questions, please put them in the chat, because if I will start answering questions, I will just digress and I will talk and talk and talk, and I won't get to all the information that I really want to share with you today. So if you put your questions when they pop up in your head in the chat, then at the end, Georgie, my co-host, will gather all your questions and we will go over them one by one, and I will answer all of them. A short introduction about me for those of you who don't know me or my work. I've been a positive reinforcement horse trainer and clicker trainer over 25 years now, and I teach horse owners to train their beloved horses in a way that enhance the horse-human relationship. I help them develop a clear and friendly two-way communication that they can use in their training and in their daily interactions with their horses. My proven method offers a structure that teaches new behaviors quickly, and by offering clarity for horses and humans, it creates mutual trust and understanding based on love. And in this way, we create confident horses that are fun and safe to be around. My purpose is to offer high-quality online clicker training courses and personal coaching in the HippoLogic Clicker Training Academy, and the membership is at this point invite only. Let's talk about the topic that brought you here today, standing and standing. Do you see a difference? So let's talk about what is stand and relax. So let me share my definition so that you will have clear parameters for training this behavior, because having a clear goal in mind helps you write your shaping plan. And once I had a clear vision of my goal behavior, it was super easy to train, and it also made it a lot easier to eliminate all those undesired elements like pawing, fidgeting, mugging, walking, dancing, and so on. And in the HippoLogic method, stand and relax is one of the 6 foundation behaviors. And I call them key lessons. And this is key lesson number 2, patience. So pay attention to the 3 important components, because these are the keys to success when you train this. So my definition is that your horse is aligned next to the handler facing the same direction. The horse stands still with 4 feet on the floor and is relaxed in body and mind. Why is it so important to define the desired outcome so specifically? Because it gives you clarity, and it helps you give your horse clarity. And with clarity comes confidence. So next time you see a horse being cued or get the command stand, you will notice that almost all horses offer extra behaviors like mugging, pawing, or moving their head or feet. And maybe you will also now notice that that horse is not actually responding to a cue. And then you know this handler probably has no clear criteria in their head, not the way you just learned. So here's a short video of the transformation Fionn has gone through. Fionn is one of my minis. He's from the SPCA, and he is very, very, very food oriented. So that caused frustration in training. And he also had a fixed mindset, which was really a challenge. So whenever he had learned one thing, he could not understand that I was raising the criteria. He was like, no, this is it. This is, now I get my treat. This is it. Even if I just raised or changed my criteria a little bit, or asked 1 second of duration, and he was like, no, this is it. And that really prevented him from staying in learning mode. So in this video, it's very short, but pay attention to how quickly his head moves in the before video and how much he's actually doing to get the treat and how tense he really is. And then I want you to compare that with the after video, because that already looks very different. As you can see, his head movements are so much slower. He's way less stressed. The way he blinks is totally different. And he's really starting to be confident and calm in clicker training. And that's just the start. So I don't know if you hear the voice, but there's no relaxation yet. And then here, after some training, he moves his head way slower. He's not there yet, but it will come. And he's like, now I start to relax. And then I click. You can't hear the click, but that's where the head goes up. And this is how it starts. So let's see. Yes. So let's ask ourselves, what makes horses struggle? Does your horse have a hard time to just stand and relax? And these are just some, well, these are basically all of the things that you communicated to me, what your horse struggles with. There was a lot of extra behaviors like fidgeting, pawing, that a lot of people struggle with. So when your horse does this, I really want you to take a moment and think about how it makes you feel when he's not able to relax. Because I was very stressed and irritated and annoyed if my horse didn't stand still and relax. And this is why we should address all mugging and pawing and other undesired behaviors in standing, because it doesn't make us feel good when a horse is doing something completely different or is ignoring us. And maybe we feel annoyed, or maybe we even feel a little bit unsafe and are fearing that we are getting injured if he's nipping or stomping his feet, or when a horse is moving a lot in standing and doing all these extra behaviors. It also means that your horse is not feeling safe, relaxed, or confident. He too is unsure, and maybe he's even frustrated or angry, because our horses have the same emotions, and those are not good feelings, and those emotions certainly prevent our horses from staying in learning mode. So in training, this is something we want to avoid at all costs. And awareness is step one, and no worries, you are in the right place. So let's talk about some common assumptions, misconceptions actually, that can keep us stuck. Every horse knows to stand still. Well, stand and relax is often overlooked and skipped in the basic training of most horses. Standing still is easy for horses. Well, first of all, it's not easy when they're stressed or frustrated and tense. And also, horses are almost always in movement, even if it's a little bit. Um, Even when they're eating, they're walking. So, yes, they will stand longer when they're napping, but in general, they love to move. So it's not like a very natural behavior for them to really stand still with 4 feet on the floor and listening to your cues. So it's really good to realize that this is a learned behavior, and we have to train them. My horse knows the cue or command for stand. But when you always or multiple times or often have to ask him twice or 3 times to stand, then he actually doesn't understand your cue, and he will respond, but he will respond to something else. So if you notice that in your own relationship with your horse, that you often have to ask it twice, then you know, let's work on that. This is very common in traditional training, that the assumption that if you punish the horse for bad behaviors, it will make him behave better. But the thing with punishment, and I will go into this later, it only tells your horse to stop the behavior, and he will stop temporarily, and it really doesn't teach him what it is that you do want from him. So punishment doesn't work the way we want it to work. And then the assumption that ignoring bad behaviors will make him stop. On the contrary, it will make it worse. And I will explain why, so you will never fall in that pitfall again. So let's go into part 2, the why. Why punishment and ignoring extra behaviors in standing still don't work if you want your horse to relax. And here's the biggest pitfall of punishment. We're only saying no to a horse, and we stop undesired behavior temporarily, but we do not tell him what we want him to do. The definition of punishment is decreasing the likelihood of a behavior occurring. Even science doesn't say eliminate the behavior. So we can punish in 2 ways according to science. So let's do a little bit of science here. Positive punishment means that you're adding an aversive in order to make that behavior stop or decrease. Let's see my notes. So if you don't offer your horse an alternative, you make it impossible to offer the right behavior. So a positive punishment is adding an aversive, and this really can cause fear or even anger in your horse, and it can make him insecure about you, which can damage the relationship. There's also something that's called negative punishment, and that's when you try to decrease a behavior in theory by taking away something your horse likes, and this is called negative punishment. Like, oh, I will stop clicker training or taking away the treats because you are pawing. And I never really seen this work effectively in real life without causing a lot of frustration and confusion in the horse. Also, punishment is not constructive. Frustrated horses are not in learning mode, they are in survival mode. They're not listening. And the reason why so many people get stuck in that loop is because at first, whatever we are doing to make our horses stop and stand looks like it helped because we interrupted the behavior, like tugging the lead rope or shouting, "Stop it!" I did that when they're pawing. But your horse only stops the desired behavior and does not understand it's all about the standing at that moment. So he stands for a short moment. And then he will do the same thing, and then you're in a vicious circle. So stop clicker training or taking away all food will cause also frustration and confusion in your horse. And that's why it doesn't work to eliminate all those undesired extra behaviors in this stand and relax. So this is Fionn, and I will show a video of this behavior. He he paws when he's tied up. And I'll show you a video of what it looked like and why ignoring doesn't work. So on the vertical axis, you see the undesired behavior, like the pawing behavior, and the red line indicates how often Fionn would paw in order to get what he wants, usually attention. Horizontal axis is the time. So let's see what happens if we, at one point in time, just stop reinforcing that behavior. We ignore it. So this is why it doesn't work for you and me. Reinforcement removed. So now Fionn thinks I am broken. His vending machine is stopped working. What will happen? What do you think will happen? Well, he will do anything to get that vending machine me working again. He tried to shake it, maybe push all the buttons, slam it, kick it, if he has to. And this is called an extinction burst. So when we start ignoring behavior, it gets worse first. And when this happens, your horse is very, very frustrated and unhappy. And some horses will even get angry about this. So this is, I believe, when Fionn discovered, because he was doing this right from the start, I think this is the part where Fionn discovered that putting his leg over the rope or putting his leg between the fence or even trying to stand on the fence helped to get what he wanted, attention from people. And poor Fionn was just experiencing an extinction burst. And eventually that behavior of pawing will decrease if we keep at it, but just when we're thinking we're doing a good job of ignoring those behaviors, it's completely normal and to be expected to see this spontaneous recovery of the pawing. So in general, if you compare it with the beginning, it has decreased, but it will go up again. And when we are not expecting this, remember, this is very normal. We can be tricked in reacting in some way, shape, or form, and all is lost because we created an increase in the behavior. And we can start all over. Only this time it will take more effort and more time, and it will also create even more frustration if we again ignore the unwanted behaviors. So most traditional horse people don't understand the effects of punishment and extinction in the horse and tell you that you will be crazy to rewarding your horse for desired behaviors instead of punishing bad behaviors. But it works so much better, and we will see how that goes and why. So don't let this stop you from staying away from positive reinforcement. So in order to show your horse that this unwanted behavior is a better word, it really has no function anymore for him, because remember, all behaviors has a function for the horse, otherwise he wouldn't do it. You would have to never ever reinforce this behavior again. And this is very tricky because, first of all, as we forget not to react and completely ignore the bad behavior, or someone else reinforces it. Oh, your horse is pawing, or whatever, paying attention. You just have strengthened the pawing. In other words, ignoring bad behaviors is just a recipe for disaster. And this is why it will work in a lab, but not for people like you and me, because we love our horses too much, and putting them through a rough time and a high amount of frustration is not really contributing to the horse-human relationship. So a frustrated or angry horse is not in learning mode, and he won't get to the results you want. Yes, eventually he will do something else than door kicking. That was the example in this slide. So now you know why simply ignoring bad behaviors will be never successful unless you never ever reinforce it again. And no one else or nothing else in your environment will reinforce it. So let's talk about the part 3, the third aspect of today, and what you should do instead. So let's give you an effective way to stop all these extra behaviors, which is also a way that contributes to the horse-human relationship. Let's think about the fact that we are already reinforcing the unwanted behaviors. Otherwise, the horse wouldn't offer them. And instead of reinforcing undesired behaviors in our horses, let's focus on strengthening the desired behaviors instead. First, you have to start thinking from your horse's perspective. What is his motivation to do what he does? What does he get for it? Because it's simple, but that's what he wants. And then some people tell me, but I shout, stop it! I'm punishing! How can he want that? Well, what are you giving him is always my question, because usually that's what he wants, and that's attention. Because I can guarantee you, when you are annoyed and shouting at your horse, he has your 100% focused attention. And there's even a saying about this, even negative attention is still attention. So that's how often we do this. And when we want to decrease all those fidgeting extra behaviors, the most effective approach is to change our behaviors first and break that chain of behaviors in our horse. So let's explain some terminology for those of you who are not familiar with terms positive and negative reinforcement. Reinforcement just simply means strengthening a behavior, so getting more of that. Positive reinforcement is strengthening a behavior by adding an appetitive. And the difference with traditional training, which is based on negative reinforcement, is that we have to get the behavior first, because otherwise we cannot reinforce that behavior. So the reinforcement comes really after the behavior. So that means that we have to really think about the setup of a whole training environment. And that can be a little bit more tricky if you are used to traditional training. Negative reinforcement is strengthening behavior by taking away an aversive. So that's something your horse wants to avoid. And this technique doesn't work to teach your horse to stand and relax, because if you would use negative reinforcement, he would not relax. So this is what it looks like in real life. And I made this video yesterday, and Fionn is pawing really bad when I leave him. So when the distance is really bad, he doesn't like that. And I know it's small, but when you get the recording, you can watch it over and over again. So he really gets frustrated when I ignore him. So he's going through an extinction burst in this video, just for the video. And I also show you what I do that works, which is, first I will lower my expectations and my criteria, and then I will use positive reinforcement clicker training to teach him exactly what I do want. I want him to stand still when being tied. And I don't have a video of this behavior in key lesson patients, but it's exactly the same principle. And as you can see, if you know what you're doing and why, you will get results pretty quickly. So I'm really excited about that. And it's also the unsafe extra behaviors in standing that makes it just no fun behavior, is if they're pawing or biting or pinning their ears. So when your horse cannot stand and being relaxed, it can be dangerous. So let's take a look at his extinction burst. He's putting his foot through the fence. So this is only for the video. He's really, and then he pays attention to the treat. So he's not paying attention to me. So I just couldn't resist. I have to reinforce that. So I decreased the distance. I went from 10 meters to 2 meters, and I decreased the duration. And I was making this video, so I really increased my criteria a little bit too much, too soon actually. But just going back and forth and having a really high rate of reinforcement. This is another technique. Exhale, become yourself. Here I realized I just raised my criteria too quickly. Look at that. Missed the opportunity. So this is what I call a click for confidence. I really go back, lowering my criteria immediately, and give a few clicks for really simple criteria to just boost his confidence, because I just missed the opportunity. And this is what happens. And this is also the beauty of positive reinforcement. You can fix your mistakes super easy. Let's see if I can get out of the video. Yeah. So when your horse is moving and dancing around and pushing you, or when horses run you over while you're asking for stand and relax, this is why it's a very important skill to teach our horses, because it keeps us safe. And when we offer clarity, our horses can relax. And what we often forget is that our horses are simply communicating with all those undesired behaviors they're offering. So let's start listening. And what most horses don't understand or don't realize enough is that we have, just checking if I touch my mic and it's fidgety, is that all these extra movements, they're learned behaviors and we have reinforced them. So let's see what we can do to change it. Oh, yeah. Let's master the basics first. Many people told me that their horse is mugging, and when your horse is mugging, I really want you to address that behavior, because it's a certain expectation your horse has, and I really want you to address that first, because he's just not understanding why he doesn't get the treat, or he's just falling back onto old habits that got him treats in the past. So key lesson number 1 in my method is called table manners for horses. I called it table manners because it's not natural behavior. You really have to train this. And key lesson table manners for horses teaches your horse safe behaviors around treats in training. It teaches your horse the meaning of the marker signal, the click, and that a treat will follow. So it teaches him the basics of clicker training. So for those of you who have not started clicker training yet, this is really the best exercise to start. Also, in table manners, you can teach him already a clear end of training signal. For instance, by showing your empty hands and say, all gone. So this offers clarity. And table manners prevents and eliminates mugging. So when your horse is mugging or pawing for attention, this is really the best exercise to start. And all these basic skills helps to train all future behaviors easier and faster. For instance, standing still and relaxed will help with mounting, will help with tying your horse up and waiting, vet care, and all these other advanced behaviors. So quite a few of you listed some aggressive behaviors in the behavior standing still. And horses that are already frustrated and agitated easily start to show the first signs of aggressive behaviors. Pinned ears, nipping, sometimes walking away. And a lot of horses do this. So it makes sense to look out for these signs in your horse. And you can change a little bit of frustration back to relaxation. But if you don't address it, it will change and it will become bigger and it can really go into anger or fear in your horse. And when horses are already showing aggressive behaviors, you have to address the cause of aggression first before teaching him to stand and relax. Otherwise, it will be just like putting a band-aid over a festering splinter, and that band-aid won't help heal the wound. Aggression is most often used by either fear or anger and is meant to protect a resource, create distance, or is just simply a way to stay safe. And instead of trying to make your horse relax, which you can never accomplish by using force, trying to put a mental state of relaxation on top of the fear of the anger will make you destined to fail. Even when it looks like you are succeeding at first. So when your horse is showing elements of aggression, warning signs, take them seriously, address those first before proceeding with key lesson patience. So because it's almost impossible without outside support to solve this problem within the parameters it is created or triggered, because we all have blind spots and we need outside eyes to help us see the things that we can do so that we can improve and develop our skills. When your horse is over aroused and maybe drops his penis, you can see that in geldings very easily. In mares not so much, but they do have the same emotions. Again, you should not train other behaviors on top of this overly arousement in the brain. So address the root problem first. I have two clients who struggled with this and came to me because their gelding was dropping, and I could successfully help both of them. And they had tried everything, and they even called in professional help. So don't give up. There is something that you can do. And it's very important, just like with aggression, that you have to calm your horse down first, so he is in learning mode. That's all what it's about, just the mental state. So let me get to the 3-step method in order to take this really, really practical for you. First, we have to become aware of how we are reinforcing all those undesired elements in stand and relax, because that gives us a clue what we can use as reinforcement, and or we can use treats. Like for Fionn, it was really the attention. If I walk away, I think because he's now clicker trained, he's worried that the treats will go away, but it was in the beginning especially all about my attention. So we have to reinforce a desirable but incompatible behavior as alternative for those undesired behavior. And we can simply take the criteria for key lesson patience because they're clear, they're simple, they're straightforward, and they really help us write the shaping plan. Then we have to stop reinforcing undesired behavior, but that's easy because our brain can only focus on one thing at a time. So if we shift our focusing from the undesired behavior to the desired behaviors, it's really not that hard. And when we do all this, your horse will choose the desired behavior more and more often. And this is how training works. So the extra behaviors are now broken, and you have taught him something that works even better, because I want you to reinforce the incompatible desired behaviors more. That will give him a lot of clarity, and it will make him feel better too. So let's talk about the how. How can we train, stand, and relax with clicker training? I just want to show you a little video of Odin. So again, to help you, let's check, because I nudged my mic and it's fidgety. So this is just to help you get a clear vision of your goal behavior. Patience, that's my verbal cue for this behavior. He still had something in his mind. Oh, and now he's relaxed. So now I click him for this. And I really gave him like a handful. It's like his whole mouth is full. And I keep clicking while he's still chewing. He's already like a real star with this behavior. But here's you can see, like, yeah, he's pretty relaxed. He's not worried. He's not doing anything else. He's just standing and chewing. So this is how a high rate of reinforcement also can help. Success tips. Write down a simple training plan so you will remember what to expect from your horse and what to click for. Just the first criteria, it doesn't have to be fancy. When you write it down, you will remember it and bring it to your horse, and just take a quick look at it before you start training it. That will really, really help. Think about your reinforcers. Too high in value will make your horse overly excited, maybe even overly aroused, frustrated that he doesn't get it. Too low in value won't make it worthwhile. So that's when they start walking away and looking for other things to do. So you have to find the balance, low enough to make it worthwhile, not so high that it creates frustration when he doesn't get clicked and treated. And then start small, really just a second towards 4 feet on the floor at first. Just like, oh, he's pawing. But when he's pawing, I don't want you to wait it out because you create that extinction burst. Maybe you can just ask him to walk on, stop, click immediately. So you reinforce that 4 feet on the floor immediately, because if you wait until he stops pawing, that's where you create that extinction burst. In the beginning, if he has so many other behaviors, really go back to with a high rate of reinforcement. If you don't know what it means, that means click, treat. So really like a lot of reinforcement and a high rate. So also hands full, and really make it ridiculously generous, because that will help your horse remember, ooh, this was good. And then focus on what you want. So focus on the desired behaviors, and focus on one element at a time, and start reinforcing with incompatible behaviors more than the unwanted behaviors. And sometimes you can even find a way to retrain some of these unwanted elements in a different training setup first. If pawing happens in the grooming place, you can already train 4 feet on the floor in that context. And once your horse understands that standing still there is really way more beneficial for him, it's easier to ask that criteria in standing at liberty as well. So if he's mugging for treats and attention, focus on key lesson table manners before it, expecting to happen in the behavior standing. If your horse is biting, start with protective contact. There's so many things that you can do to make it successful. Shaping plans, your key to success. A shaping plan is a written manual of your goal behavior, and then you divide it into baby steps, and those are your criteria, so you know exactly what to click for. A few criteria is 4 feet on the floor as your first criterion. Click and treat even a split second of keeping 4 feet on the floor to give your horse clarity. Slowly build duration. Really, I'm talking second by second. And once your horse can stand for a few seconds, then you can start focusing on other criteria, like the neck straight, for example, because that's incompatible with mugging your pockets. And some advanced horses and trainers can click for kind of all steps toward desired behaviors. So neck straight, click and treat. Head lowering a bit, click and treat. Relaxation, reinforce that. Tail relaxes, click and treat. But if this is too confusing for you or your horse, focus on one criteria at a time before working on the next one. And sometimes we need to split the goal behaviors into separate elements first. And then you train those elements of the behavior separately if possible. So standing is one element, neck straight is an element, head position. Choose something that's comfortable for your horse, because that will contribute to that final relaxation that we're aiming for. And then when your horse masters all these basics, you can go to the next level and introduce more challenging criteria, like a distance between you and the horse, longer duration, distractions, so in a different environment, for instance. You can turn it into a default behavior. A default behavior is something that is one behavior that your horse is allowed to offer without being cued, and still get reinforced for it. So that default behavior, if they get really frustrated, instead of like offering all kinds of latest tricks that he has been reinforced for, no, he will just start offering key lesson patience, and that will be your cue, your communication. He wants a treat, but he doesn't know how to get it. So therefore he chooses a behavior that has been reinforced a lot in the past. And since this is super safe behavior, it's perfect to choose that as a default behavior. You can up your game and add the criteria of standing square. You can cue your horse from a distance or a different place. So you start with aligning shoulder to shoulder, but now you're standing next to his hip, for instance, for long reining, or you stand in a different place in space. And then you can train different context and circumstances. This all has to be trained really separate. You really have to consider this as new training. So you can add stand and relax while mounting for vet care, grooming, and so on. And when you are consistent at this behavior, it really doesn't take long. I bet if you spend 5 days in a row, just 5 minutes a day, and be consistent at it, I'll bet at the end of the week, you have made a lot of progress. Let's talk about incompatible behaviors, because that is really the key to teaching your horse better behaviors. An incompatible behavior is something your horse cannot do at the same time with one of his undesired behaviors. Remember, all behaviors for the horse are useful, so there's no good or bad behaviors for the horse, just for us, desired or undesired. And you have to learn to think out the box and use this approach, because the more you do it, the easier it becomes, and you and your horse will benefit a lot from this. For me, this was really an eye-opener when I learned this. I was focused on stop pawing, but when I learned to focus on 4 feet on the floor, suddenly all criteria were clear. So 4 feet on the floor is incompatible with walking, with backing and facing you, because you want your horse to be aligned, with dancing, moving, pushing, pulling you. So it already has a lot of purposes. And when your horse is pushing you, sniffing, shaking, or nodding his head, fidgeting, reinforce keeping the head still, because this is incompatible with all those undesired behaviors that he's offering right now. And when your horse is looking for grass or keeping his head down, start reinforcing a horizontal neck position, because that's also something that is already associated in his body with relaxation, because that's the position that you're looking for, like the position that he keeps his head in and his neck in when he's dozing off. That's what I'm aiming for. And then, by the way, if you are the person that having that horse that says, well, he's diving into grass when I'm asking him to stand still, I have a course about that, so you can ask me about that. But you can start training the element ignore grass separately first before expecting him to do this in the standing still behavior. And when your horse gets tense in anticipation, you can help your horse by relaxing first, just like you saw in the video. You heard me exhale. If you watch the recording, you can watch it again. Like, and horses often mimic their handlers. You can also pretend that you're grounding and that you're growing roots from your feet, or just pretending that you have all day long to stand here. Because when you are like, oh, how long can I make him stand this way, you get tense, your horse picks it up, he gets tense, he starts moving. You can also double inhale and then slowly exhale. You can increase the rate of reinforcement with food that they have to chew on a little bit longer and give hands full, because also chewing can help some horses relax. And if this doesn't help, I have more techniques. Let's talk about the next thing, some troubleshooting. Checking the mic. Just in general, this is all just general advice, because it's impossible to give each and every participant here tailored advice in this setup, but that's something I really offer in the academy. So for frustrated horses, they need more clarity. So often increasing the rate of reinforcement first, like 4 feet on the floor, click, treat, click, treat, click, treat, really helps them pay attention to what is reinforced and what is desired. Lower your criteria at the same time, just for the time being, until it's very clear for your horse what's expected, and then slowly fade out those reinforcers. And in my courses, I offer you exact way to do that, how to train new behaviors. And you have to stop all punishment, because you have to understand that this will damage the relationship, and it also doesn't give you the results that you want. Remember, punishment will only interrupt the undesired behavior. It decreases the likelihood of that behavior, but it doesn't teach. In case of aggressive behaviors like nipping, ear pinning, or something in case of severe tension, solve the cause of the aggression or fear in your horse first before teaching anything else. When your horse wanders off, this is important. You have to ask yourself why, because it really does matter if he's wandering away from you because of an moving away feeling, or a moving towards feeling. Does he walk away because he moves away because you are being aversive? He doesn't want to be with you? Or does he walks away from you because something else is more reinforcing? Because then it's a moving towards energy that he's in, and he moves towards the grass because that's more interesting in that moment. And then address the cause behavior. If he's just wanting to move away because you're aversive, you have to see what you have to change in order to make yourself more appetitive. And if he's moving away because he just loves grass more, then you can become more interesting. And he's already telling you what he wants. So sometimes it's as simple as just start reinforcing stand and relax with grass because that's what he wants. When your horse gets bored, make sure that he really understands what you're working on, for instance, duration, and that a click and a treat will follow. So go back to where he still was successful and start rebuilding from there, or make yourself more interested, maybe using a little different reinforcer. When your horse starts to get physical with you, start with training stand and relax with protective contact. So just put a barrier. It's just like the same with stable manners. Put a barrier so he just simply cannot do that until he has learned that he has to keep his neck straight, relaxation, and so on. And then you can fade out that barrier and keep the behavior. Also, troubleshooting, never train a hungry horse. If your horse is like getting like multiple small portions a day and you come to the barn in between meals and you suspect he's hungry, just feed him some hay first. Because they will get frustrated and angry easily if they are hungry, or they just wander off and get their own food. And a horse that follows you, if that's your trouble, great, because they love you and what you offer, but they just don't understand that they are supposed to stay. So remember that distance and durations are really advanced criteria in stand and relax. Remember that I promised to share these three aspects in training, what the behavior actually is and what it looks like. And I hope you now have an excellent, clear picture in your mind what your goal behavior is, why punishment and ignoring the behavior just doesn't get the results you want, and what you do instead, and how you exactly train this behavior with positive reinforcement. And I hope that you understand that when you listen to your horse and you show him that you understand him, that it will also strengthen the bond that you already have. So my question to you is, how many of you have learned at least one new thing today, or were reminded to a thing that you had forgotten? I would love to see some hi, raise your hand in the chat, say yes. Oh, yes, some people loved it. Also, learned something new, because this is really the place where you can just pat yourself on the back because you grew your brain today. And I'm already excited, because when you talk about these things and you let them sink in, that really, really helps. So therefore, just being on those live calls just makes it more entertaining, and you will learn more when you do that. So imagine for a moment what your future would look like if you felt confident in clicker training your horse, because you have the clarity and know exactly what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And you're confident because you keep the two-way communication with your horse going, and you can give him a voice and a choice in training. Imagine how that would make you feel. He can stand and relax. I mean, imagine also how it feels for your horse, having someone in his life who really understands him and listens when he's worried and confused. I just wonder, would you feel more relaxed and safer around your horse if you could stand still and relax? And how do you feel now? Now you know exactly what to do. So if you want a well-behaved horse that exactly does what you want, without having to punish your horse or damage that really special relationship that you have, and that you want some support and guidance and handholding to make that happen for you and your horse in a way that contributes to your relationship, I invite you to a free assessment with me. And in that assessment, I will go over all the elements in training so that you can close the gap in your training and know exactly what to do and what to focus on in order to improve your training. So this is not a coaching call, but it will give you clarity about your next step in training and what you should do in order to move forward. And I do this for free, just for 100 people to practice my assessments. And Georgie will share the link for booking an assessment for this coming week. So that's the link to join the movement for kinder and more humane training of your horse. And I believe that you are the best trainer for your horse because you know your horse best, and I know you can do this. For those of you who already know that you want to work with me and want my guidance, I invite you to just to book an assessment so we can get on a one-on-one call and I can get to know you and your horse a little bit better. We'll find the holes in your training, figure out what to focus on, and you get valuable insights and inspiration. No strings attached. Before we go to the Q&A, I would like to remind you, next month's topic is how to train your horse scent without using pressure, which you can use at liberty and in movement training. And Georgie also has the link that you can sign up. And if you don't want to wait a whole month, book an assessment. So thank you very much for joining me live. I'll stop the recording and we'll go to the